Hey y'all, I know it's been a minute since I have been on with a word, but I do have one today. And this one actually has to do with the Israelites wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. Um, so, this journey that they took should have only taken 11 days, but instead it took 40 years, um, which can be symbolic for representing like an entire generation, right? So, basically, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. It took them 40 years rather than 11 days. And that was due to them having lack of trust in God, grumbling, complaining, selfishness, rebellion, sin, etc. And so over the weekend, I had seen the numbers 444 like back to back to back to back to back. Like I don't even know how many times. And 311 and Ecclesiastes 3:11. Everything is made beautiful in His timing, right? 444 can mean open door, but in the Strong's it also means to go, to walk, to proceed, movement from one place to another. And I had actually also gotten lots of other numbers, but essentially, like it all is meaning you can choose to go down one path or the other, kind of like the crossroads that I had posted multiple times about. One path is going to lead you to 40 years in the wilderness, right? Going through something over and over and over and over again, which can lead to ruin, loss, perishing. That is one way, one path you can take. Or, right, you can take the path that leads you where you are, in unity and together in union with God and His plan and His will. And there you will find growth, you'll find increase. But by behaving improperly, dishonoring God, shaming God, just sin and lack of trust in what He has spoken, the promised land, right? So all of that will take you down, the path that the Israelites unfortunately experienced for 40 years, right? That should have only taken them 11 days. So they, there were spies that had went to basically scope out what was going on. And once the Israelites heard the negative things that the spies had seen, they panicked and they doubted God's promise, right? Choosing not to trust Him to lead them into the promised land. And as a consequence of not trusting God, they wandered for 40 years. And again, like faith is believing in things that are not yet seen, Hebrews 11. So maybe you have found yourself complaining, grumbling while you've been in the wilderness, right? And maybe that's why you're still there. Maybe it's your lack of faith. Maybe it's sin. Maybe it's, living in rebellion, not trusting what God has said, just leaning on your own understanding and not what God has said. I don't know, but also I had gotten 93:11, Psalms 93:11, which means the Lord knows the thoughts of men and that they are vain. God also knows your thoughts. He knows your heart. He knows everything, right? And so basically he's saying like exercise your authority over over the promised land, over what He has told you, right? Exercise your authority over that. Trust and believe that if He said He's going to get you there, you are going to be brought there. in his perfect timing. You will be moving from this where you're at into that place in his perfect timing. He will open that door, right? That door will open in his perfect timing. Just because you don't see it at this moment does not mean that it's not going to come to pass, right? If he spoke something to you, then that means it will come to pass. But if you sit with vain thoughts, sit with disbelief, doubting God and what he can do, and not trusting him, complaining, just being selfish, rebellious in whatever way that might look like, living in sin, it can keep you in a cycle, right? Over and over and over again. So, again, you can either go down that path of ruin, of loss, of perishing, a continuous cycle, or, behaving improperly, dishonoring God, shaming God, knowingly or unknowingly, right? Or you can trust and believe God that if he spoke a word, you're going to see it come to pass, right? In his perfect timing, and that he will open that door in his perfect timing. And you will see and experience that growth and that increase, right? You can go down that path. And rather than taking 40 years, you may take 11 days. Not literally, but you get the point. You will get there quicker. But much like the crossroads word that he had given me and with the dreams that I had, you can miss it. You can miss it by being distracted by, all of the things that I just named off. If God is telling you to do one thing and expecting you to do one thing and you do something else, once you actually get to that exit, it may be blocked off, it may be closed off because you missed it. And it could be as simple as just because you didn't have faith, because you complained, because you had lack of trust, because you were, living in sin, you were living in rebellion, just because of, things that you have not seen, right? That made you lack faith. And so also 1251, I had gotten to hear thoroughly, to listen intently. Be sure that you are listening attentively to what God speaks to you, whether that be direction, guidance, leading, truth, wisdom, like whatever it is. Just be sure that in this time you are listening to God attentively, concentrating heavily, bringing much attention to, like, giving him a listening ear and listening with intent, right? And just staying in unity and in union with him, and that is where you will find your growth and your increase. But it will not be by complaining, grumbling, lacking trust, and all of the things, right? That is not, you will find yourself on a path of perishing, of loss, and of ruin. Keep your thoughts pure. God knows your thoughts. If you are trying to act in vain, he knows. He knows your intentions. He knows everything, right? So be sure that you are keeping yourself pure, your thoughts pure, your heart pure, everything pure and aligned in his will. And know that in his perfect timing, you will see that movement from the place you're in into where he is taking you. He will open that door in his perfect timing. So that is the word. I pray that this got out in the way that he had given it to me. I pray that it gets to the right people that need to hear it at the right time. If you feel led to sow, of course, my information will always be there. And I pray y'all have a blessed rest of your day. And I will see y'all whenever that may be. Again, okay, bye.